Alright, well, I hit one more hazel bush, and now I've headed over a little closer to the woods, and this hazel bush is just loaded with nuts, but it's surrounded by a little more woods and probably gets a little more shade, I'm thinking. And none of these hazelnuts are ripe, so I think that them being out in the full sun definitely helps them ripen up sooner, maybe. Yeah, see, there's a whole bunch of hazelnuts, but none of them appear to be ripe. Well, and I wanted to show you something else too. Kind of show myself this too, because I'm kind of new to it. When I go back and look at this video, I can remind myself of these things without having to write it all down. But here's one. It's got a big black spot on it. I peeled the husk off, and I noticed this plant has quite a few black ones on it. I don't know if that has something to do with maybe the moisture stays on this plant more because it's not in the sun. I'm not really sure. And then also, here's one that isn't ripe. It's still white or very light cream color, and it doesn't separate from that husk. I picked a ripe one earlier and it popped right out of that husk. This one is stuck to it pretty firm. But I'm gonna take a few of these ones that I accidentally picked that aren't quite ripe and see if they ripen up as they dry. I don't know if they will, but with this husk on them, there might be enough energy left in there to let them finish ripening up. I know they ripen up pretty quick because it was only about a week ago that I came out to this other bush and none of them were ripe, and this week they were all ripe. So it only takes about a week or two once they're getting close. And the ones that I picked last week, the nut actually turned brown as it dried, and they were pretty good, but they were just a little on the soft side. So I'll see if they ripen up, and that'll just help me next year to be able to decide if I should pick some that aren't quite ripe or just leave them or whatever. But I figured I'd show you that. And the other thing that really just kind of amazes me, and I don't know if it'll show on any of these, but this is the hazelnut shrub, and it's just one skinny branch coming up. It's just a tiny little sapling. I found one over there that was smaller than this, and it probably had 5 or 10 nuts on it. Well, as a matter of fact, I don't know, this is on a little, this one's about 3 feet tall, and it's got some on it. It's amazing how small these shrubs are, and that they produce so many nuts. I mean, this shrub probably has 500 or 600 on it, and it's all individual shrubs that are pretty much a sapling that shoots straight up with just a few little branches coming off, and they tend to kind of just grow in a big clump like this. I don't know if that's typical or what, but from the pictures I've seen on the web, I think it is. I mean, this one is just loaded with nuts, man. Look at that. This one top probably has 30 or 40 nuts on it. I'll have to come back in a few days and check this shrub in particular and pick these bad boys. I guess it'd be nice if you could find a location where they're fairly abundant. I think the wildlife probably depend on these as a source of food. But where I'm at, there's so much food for the wildlife and stuff. It ain't funny. Most of it ends up just rotting on the bush, from what I've seen. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Kind of do this as a reminder to myself. I'm not 100% sure if I'll post this as a YouTube video or not, but it's more or less just a reminder to me to remind myself what to look for next year when I do this. I mean, I can write all this information down in a notebook, but it would take quite a lot of time to do that, and it's a lot easier to just take some close-up detailed photos of the nuts and the leaf, the underside of the leaf, the stem, and any other identifying features, and do a quick video when I get out and start harvesting them to remind myself the time of year, because it's pretty much the middle of August, and that seems to be when they get ripe here in southern Michigan. And it just makes it a lot easier. I still take notes on stuff, but having a video and some nice detailed pictures to go along with it, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words, I think. You don't want to rely 100% on pictures, but they sure do help. They make it a lot easier for you to get out and find these leaves. Almost feel like they're finely hairy on top. I don't know if they are, but they have that feel. They feel kind of rough on the top, and they feel smoother on the bottom, and they've got really pronounced veins. They're finely toothed along the margin. I think hazelnuts are pretty easy, and blackberries, but they would be good plants for you to learn the features you need to know to identify plants for the table, because they're a well-known food source, so it's not entirely alien to you. And if you just make careful observations of all the features you see of a plant, and a lot of times it might be crushing the leaf up and smelling it, or crushing the stem and smelling it. A lot of plants give off a certain odor. So anything you can take from that plant to distinguish it from other plants is what you want to keep track of. And the way I do it is I just look at everything. I'll look at the roots, I'll look at the leaf structure, I'll look at the way the veins run. Do they run all the way out to the edge of the leaf? Are they opposite, or are they alternate? On this hazelnut, the leaves are alternate, meaning they alternate as they go up the stem. A lot of plants, the leaves will be opposite. There's a lot of features you need to be aware of when you get into harvesting wild edibles, and the better ability you have to look at any given plant or mushroom or tree and distinguish all the different features that make up that plant, that is what will help you be able to identify plants properly and quickly. You know, the process of identification that leads to you becoming familiar with that plant enough to pick it and eat it goes much quicker if you can just take the time and observe all the different features of the plants. And you need to use all your senses: sight, touch, feel, sound. I mean, I've even heard people say, you know, certain plants, if you rub the leaves together, they make a squeaky sound, whereas a look-alike won't make the squeaky sound. So those are all things to keep in mind, and there's really not too much you can take away from a plant, you know. It's sort of a information overload kind of deal. The more information you have about it, the better. And the more you can describe the features of that plant to somebody in words, the better. Especially if you're trying to get help online or through an email or something. If you're emailing a botanist or a mycologist about a certain mushroom, and you know, he's going to want to know the features of that plant or mushroom, and the better you are at describing those features to him, the better he will be able to help you identify it. So I guess that's just something to keep in mind, and it's something that I don't really think about anymore. I just kind of know it and I just naturally do it. But when I first started out, I wouldn't look at all the features. You know, I would just say, I don't know, it's got a nut with this shell around it, and people would be like, well, I don't know, you know, that could be a lot of different things. It might not even be a nut for all we know. You gotta tell us, you know, what does the leaf look like? Is it hairy on top? Does it feel rough? Does it make a squeaky noise when you rub it together? Any little thing, you know. Sometimes it's the subtlest little feature that distinguishes one plant from another. So the more information you have, the better. I'm standing out here in the midday sun. Whoa. It's a very hot day. Very hot and humid. The air quality is really poor. But I'm out here picking. I guess I better get back to it. Talk to you later.